We're kicking off this roundup with the Pygmy cormorant. And for viewers who've been following these updates for a while, you might be thinking, are we still not done talking about this bird? The big dayers have ticked it off, and the eternal month listers have now seen the species in every month of the year. And yes, I'll admit, I've basically run out of things to say about this long stayer near Lelystad. However, this week brought a new sighting, a flyby in Limburg. The observer was counting migrant birds and had just spotted a distant purple heron, already a good species for the province. When a group of cormorants flew through his scope, the lead bird was noticeably smaller. Bingo! A few good photos were taken, but the bird hasn't been seen again. Did it head back into Germany? Or is it simply hiding out somewhere in the Netherlands, waiting to be discovered? As for new discoveries overall, I can't shake the feeling that, despite the fine weather, not a lot of standout birds are being found this month. Or am I just getting spoiled? Aside from the Pygmy cormorant, there was also a report of a great snipe, this time in the meadowbird area in southwest Friesland. Unfortunately, the few available photos are too poor in quality to rule out common snipe. So, even though we've had multiple reports this year, we still haven't had a solid twitchable great snipe on the mainland. But there's still hope. May certainly isn't the last month they're spotted. Still, I imagine people would much prefer a twitchable lesser kestrel, like the one in Belgium, or maybe a Pacific swift, like the one recently seen in Italy. One potential mega rarity this week was a report of a Franklin's or laughing gull along the Houtripdijk between North Holland and Flevoland. The combination of black hood, grey mantle and white underwings does point in that direction, but sadly, the sighting remains unconfirmed. The last confirmed records of both Franklin's and laughing gull in the Netherlands date back to the COVID era, so a new twitchable one would be very welcome indeed. From previous weeks, we still had a few leftovers, including the Iberian chiffchaff near Emmeloord. I happened to be passing through there recently and decided to try adding it to my 250 bird challenge, and with success. The bird spends most of its time chasing regular chiffchaffs out of its territory and often sings like one too. Only now and then does it break into a pure Iberian chiffchaff song. It does call like an Iberian though, so the occasional mimicry of its northern counterpart shouldn't get in the way of official acceptance. Another leftover was the skopsow in Limburg, last heard on the evening of the 19th. This species doesn't tend to stick around long in the Netherlands, unlike Iberian chiffchaffs. After a few days of unsuccessful singing for a mate, most skopsows simply move on, while some Iberian chiffchaffs can stay for months. All three falcated ducks were also still around. The bird in Zwolle was last seen on the 22nd in the Vreugderijke Waard. The one in South Holland was still in the Broekpolder near Vlaardingen, at least through the 24th, and the Limburg bird remained in place near Itteren. Slightly less rare, but still very exciting, were one or possible two Woodchat shrikes. There was one unconfirmed sighting in Gelderland, with a photo showing the outline of a shrike, but not enough detail to be absolutely sure it was a Woodchat shrike. A redback shrike was also seen in the area. Observers were confident it was a Woodchat, noting a reddish hue on the crown, but unfortunately no other key features were mentioned. A clear white shoulder patch or white wing panel would have really helped. The other sighting was once again on Texel, this time just south of the lifeboat station. Melodious warblers have also arrived in the country, as usual limited to the southern provinces. In North Brabant, birds were reported in two different areas. Limburg, as always, claimed the majority, with reports from 5 different areas. Last week, I forgot to include the river warbler in the roundup. One was reported on May 17th in Woldse Veen, but unfortunately the sighting wasn't documented and there were no follow-up observations. On the 18th, another was found in the Broek, and as of writing, that bird is still present. In the Netherlands, the river warbler is one of those species that typically arrive late, often not until the end of May or even June, just like thrush nightingales and blithe-reed warblers. The difference with most spring migrants is that these eastern species are actually trying to expand their range. They're here genuinely looking for a mate, and sometimes they succeed. In the past 5 years, we've already had confirmed breeding of both blithe-reed warbler and thrush nightingale. Despite past suspicions, confirmed breeding of the river warbler is still missing. This week brought 2 documented sightings of black-winged kite. The first was a flyover in Limburg on May 20th. There was also a report from Overijssel, although that one came with a bit of an odd backstory. A sighting on May 21st included the note that it concerned a pair, possibly some information copied over from another observation. Nothing was seen the following day, but on the 23rd, during a meadowbird survey in the same area, a bird was found again. It was last seen around 1 p.m. Another raptor that's no longer quite as rare as it once was is the short-toed snake eagle. Still, I'm noticing how few sightings are actually being documented this year. There were reports from at least 5 locations last week, but not a single one was backed up with photos or video. Take Vochteloerveen, for example. There's a buzzard there doing a great job of impersonating a snake eagle, a very pale bird with a lot of white on its upper parts. It's also fond of hovering over the heath in search of snakes. I often see it flying over the area with a snake in its talons. Now that reports from this location have been undocumented for weeks, I'm starting to wonder whether there's really a snake eagle there at all. So if you're heading to the area and think you've spotted one, please take a photo and add it to your report. It will give me some peace of mind. A popular destination in the south of the country last week was the Biesbos, where 2 white-winged terns were spotted. This year, white-winged terns haven't shown up in the large numbers we sometimes see, so these 2 drew quite a crowd, with around 70 reported sightings. Other individuals were seen at Reeuwijkse Plassen, and 2 briefly showed up near Driel. There weren't really any new broad-billed sandpipers reported this week, but birds were still seen at the usual hotspots like Lauwersmeer and the Dollard salt marshes. New individuals were seen on Ameland and near Harkstede, the latter proving a popular draw for birders from Groningen who couldn't be bothered to drive out to the mudflats. Aside from these relatively decent numbers of broadbills, it's been a pretty quiet spring for rare shorebirds. One highlight was a lovely buff-breasted sandpiper in North Brabant. The bird was found on the morning of May 23rd and stayed through the evening of the 25th. It was reported over 250 times in total. This beautiful shorebird breeds in the high Arctic regions of Canada and Alaska and winters all the way in southern South America, a true long-distance migrant. It can be found in the Netherlands in both spring and autumn, though autumn sightings are about twice as common. Still, this record proves once again that inland locations can turn up great waders too. Another exciting late May shorebird was the Terek sandpiper. It was actually found earlier in the month, but I hadn't covered it yet. The first Terek of the year was seen on May 13th at Kwadehoek, but it was too distant to enjoy properly. It's a very distinctive bird, with that long upturned bill and short legs. With a bit of experience, you can pick it out even at range. The following day, another was found at the small island of Makenje, a beautiful spot in the Grevelinge Lake that's easily scoped from the south side of Goeree Overflakkee. It was one of our key locations during the 2016 National Big Day, with rare breeding birds like Arctic tern, little tern and Canis plover. The day after that, another Terek was found near Den Oever. That bird hung around through May 21st, but also tended to stay too far out for nice views or photos. That all changed with the May 23rd sighting near Hoorn. This bird was much more cooperative and ended up being logged over 150 times in a single week. This week also brought not 1, but 2 black guillemots. The bird at the tip of the Vliehorst was still present, and on May 25th another one was discovered near Vlissingen. That bird offered good views and photo opportunities. Like the Rarest bird, it was heavily molting, with rather scruffy looking wings. Still, that didn't stop it from hunting actively, and because it stayed relatively close to shore, patient birders were able to get some great shots. We're heading into the final week of May. Will there be a real showstopper in store? Tune in next week to find out. See you then.